Best advice that I ever got was from my mum, and I want to tell you in the context of the story where it happened, because it's kind of a wild story about a time I got down to the final five for like one of the best jobs in my whole industry. So 20 years ago, one afternoon, I'm walking along the corridor at work and I've got my phone out to call my mum, and like my hands are shaking because I cannot believe what has just been happening. Before I did what I do now, I now teach storytelling and persuasive presentations. I'm Marsha from YesYesMarsha.com. I used to be a radio DJ, and I worked at a station mostly called XFM in London. And we were in a building with loads of other radio stations like Classic FM and LBC, and this station called Capital FM, which if you live in London or have ever lived in London, you will know Capital is the biggest commercial radio station in London. I think probably the biggest local commercial radio station in the country. And we all grew up like listening to Capital. I could sing you every jingle of Capital Radio from like the 80s and 90s. Pet Shop, woo, woo. And I, through a series of weird events and conversations and introductions, ended up auditioning to be the co-host on the Johnny Vaughan breakfast show, the Capital Radio breakfast show. And I had heard that the woman who I'd be replacing was on £100,000 a year. Bear in mind, this is 20 years ago. And so I'm kind of shaking, like going to call my mum, and I ring my mum and I tell her, and I'm like, I'm not going to get my hopes up because I don't want to be disappointed if I don't get it. And then my mum says, oh, I love it when they say you might have the job, because then you can really daydream and enjoy it. And then even if you don't get the job, you had a good time. And suddenly in that moment, I'm like, wait a second. Every single time I haven't got my hopes up, so I'm not disappointed, and I don't get the thing, I'm still fucking disappointed. Like, not getting my hopes up does zero to protect me from being disappointed. So I may as well enjoy it. So in my head, I was like hanging out with the celebrities. I was spending that £100,000, and I didn't get the job, but I had a really good time. And so now that's what I do. Anytime something is a maybe. A few years ago, I ended up like in conversations with Penguin Random House about doing a book deal, and I got this fancy agent. And like in my mind, I was like on the red carpet for the movie version of my book. I was hanging out with Oprah on her cruise. Apparently she has a cruise. And then I didn't get it, but like I had such a good time in the run up. So next time something is a maybe, then daydream and enjoy it. As long as you hold in your head that you might not get it, that's one of the options. And the reason I was reminded of this was because I told this story on one of probably my favorite podcast interview I have ever done. And I've done hundreds, which was David Speed's Creative Rebels. There is a link in my bio. Look up Creative Rebels podcast on your podcast app and listen to that interview.